to avoid a disturbance by clouds. For the past few years, the 4 a.m. sunrise at Stonehenge has been broadcast on social media and has received viewers from across the globe.
The time for playing is over. It's been over, but it's really over.
Let's not be dramatic here.
Oh, gosh.
Do we all know what we've got ourselves into?
Welcome to the Great Reset.
Do we know where we're likely to be going? And who is going to lead us?
We are at or close to important decisions that will determine the direction in which the world is going. The German elections have already occurred. The French election will take place in April 2022, and in the same month, Hungary's voters, against all odds, may turn an authoritarian ruler out of power.
They need to be prepared to proactively rebuild society from the ashes of a crisis.
I'm sure you've realized by now.
Emergencies used to be, it's an emergency, quick. Well, there's 10 of them. 10 essential climate actions President Biden can take without Congress. Advance climate justice, that's done. I don't know what number 7 is, launch a just transition, but I'm guessing that's it. What can they do to make a more stable and equitable community? And it's just another emergency. So Biden's executive actions on reshaping the U.S. economy is a roadmap. It described $500 billion in federal contracts
Manufactured to kickstart this agenda.
to have the control over what you must and must not do. Did you know FEMA did that?
Have you ever heard of Black Wednesday? It refers to an event in September 1992 when George Soros and a group of investors forced Britain to withdraw its pound from the European Exchange Rate Mechanism, ERM. In other words, they forced the pound out of existence. How is this done? Soros placed an enormous bet against the British pound. He said it would sink below the lowest currency exchange limit. More investors placed their bets assuming this would happen. Their actions put a lot of pressure on the pound. It sank further, ultimately pushing the United Kingdom out of the ERM. All of these investors made money, up to $300 million, but Soros was the winner, earning $1.5 billion in just 1 month.
Together with Putin's decision whether to invade Ukraine, these developments will determine the fate of Europe. In October, China's 20th Party Congress will decide whether to give Xi Jinping a third term in office as Party General Secretary. Then the U.S. will hold a crucial midterm election in November. Climate change will remain a paramount policy challenge for the world, but the dominant geopolitical feature of today's world is the escalating conflict between two systems of governance that are diametrically opposed to each other. Let me therefore define the difference as simply as I can. In an open society, the role of the state is to protect the freedom of the individual. In a closed society, the role of the individual is to serve the interests of the one-party state.
This score earned him legendary status and boosted his firm's wealth to $7 billion. They started calling him the man who broke the Bank of England. Today they call him a master manipulator of the global order, an unregulated billionaire with a messiah complex. Some say he can bring down not just currencies but entire systems. Some accusations are indeed far-fetched, but they say there's no smoke without fire. So even if these are exaggerations, what are they based on? Let's look at how much this man is worth. Soros is among the 10 richest hedge fund managers in the world with an estimated worth of $8.6 billion. Some say he's worth way more than this, given the suspiciously enormous sums of money he gives away for charitable causes. He's donated more than $32 billion to a foundation he runs, out of which $15 billion have been distributed in 37 countries. What is this money being used for? For education programs, health camps, human rights movements, justice reform, global governance, and quote-unquote, the furtherance of democracy. How is this done? Through the Open Society Foundation, a name inspired from a 1945 book, The Open Society and Its Enemies. This body is headquartered in New York and has active programs in more than 60 countries. This group gives major grants to organizations and parties that are aligned with its mission and objective.
Each has strengths and weaknesses. Open societies unleash the creative and innovative energies of people. Closed societies concentrate power in the hands of the one-party state. Those are the strengths. The weaknesses are more specific to local and regional conditions. For instance, the relationship between the European Union and its member states is still evolving. The EU ought to protect Lithuania, which recognized Taiwan, from an unofficial blockade by China. But will it?
That are aligned with its mission and objectives. Basically, anybody who seeks to shake up the status quo. In Israel, the only democracy in West Asia, the list of grantees of the OSF include a number of Israeli NGOs that deny the legitimacy of Israel. In Palestine, OSF funds NGOs like the Al-Haq and Palestinian Center for Human Rights, both of which are associated with the Popular Front, an outfit designated as a terrorist organization by the US, the EU, Canada, and Israel. What would you call George Soros then? A political activist? Why not? In September 2012, he donated $1 million to a political action committee led by Barack Obama. In 2016, he was the biggest donor to the Hillary Clinton campaign, giving almost $8 million. The move was met with a lot of criticism. He also donated £400,000 to anti-Brexit groups opposing Britain's exit from the European Union, but favored Germany leaving the EU back in 2013. He's a man of convictions and contradictions. In June 2018, Hungary, which happens to be his native country, passed a law dedicated to this man. It's called the Stop Soros Law, aimed at ending OSF funding to organizations that support illegal entry of undocumented migrants. The OSF calls this law authoritarian. Hungary says it is only safeguarding national security. Now, here's the thing. Promoting and funding reform in a system is one thing, but undermining a nation's sovereignty by influencing decisions is quite another.
Out of this turmoil, a new leader emerged, Deng Xiaoping, who recognized that China was woefully lagging behind the capitalist world. His motto was, hide your strength and bide your time. He invited foreigners to invest in China. Then that led to a period of miraculous growth that continued even after Xi Jinping came to power in 2013. Since then, Xi Jinping has done his best to dismantle Deng Xiaoping's achievements. He brought private companies established under Deng under the control of the CCP and undermined the dynamism that used to characterize them. Rather than letting private enterprise blossom, Xi Jinping introduced his own China dream that can be summed up in two words: total control.
George Soros and the OSF seek to liberate the world from ideas they consider outdated and restraining. They want to change political realities that are not suitable to their principles. Take their activism in India, for example. In January 2020, Soros unveiled a plan to set up a $1 billion fund to build a global network of higher educational institutions. Institutions that will help students put up a resistance against growing nationalism. He singled out several countries and their leaders. India was one of them. He called India a Hindu nationalist state, which is suffering the biggest and most frightening setback.
The biggest and most frightening setback occurred in India, where the democratically elected Narendra Modi created a Hindu nationalist state.
This was last year. This year, a scandal hit India, the Pegasus project. It suggested that the government of India was spying on its citizens. The report had a list of 300-odd Indians. Who was behind this project? 17 media organizations and 2 global entities, Amnesty International and Forbidden Stories. They're both beneficiaries of grants and funds from the Open Society Foundation. In 2018, Amnesty received a €137,000 grant from the OSF for a campaign to repeal a law Ireland had passed. In June 2021, just a month before the Pegasus report came out, Open Society Foundation named the former Secretary General of Amnesty as its Vice President for Global Affairs.
As the founder of the Open Society Foundations, obviously I am on the side of open societies. But the important question today is which system of governance is going to prevail.
Now, why anyone in their right mind would think it's a good idea to give the very elitists who destroyed the planet more power to now save the planet is beyond me, but hey, we're talking about the same species who eats Tide Pods and thinks polyester can protect you from a virus.
Are we really right?
The entire world is losing its mind. It does feel like something is ending, like we're awakening from a dream. And in that sense, for a while,
we really did have everything, didn't we?
To start, you're completely missing the point, and everything you think is actually at odds with reality when you look at the data.
And boy has it ruffled some feathers to dive into a complex societal issue.